All right, welcome back to the channel. So Jermell Charlo is back at it again, trolling Deontay Wilder and Deontay Wilder fans. Gotta love it. At least it's bringing a little bit of excitement to the sport of boxing right now in a gossipy sense. But regardless, we're going to talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. First thing before I get into the video, hey, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, all that good stuff if you watch the video. So we're going to get into Jermell Charlo and Deontay Wilder, Floyd Mayweather Jr. And before I get into the meat of it, let me tell you, I like Jermell Charlo very, very much as a fighter. I've always been a supporter of him as a fighter. I think he's one of the top 10 pound for pound best fighters in the world. Was rooting for him against Brian Castano, and I'm going to root for him against Brian Castano if they have the rematch. I like the Charlo brothers, and I'm a supporter of the Charlo brothers, right? But I'm also a supporter of Deontay Wilder, and Jermell Charlo, I think, is a little bit out of pocket and is taking things just a little bit personally when it comes to Deontay Wilder. So this is what happened. Just yesterday, Floyd Mayweather Jr. took a very, very obvious shot at Deontay Wilder by asking for people to support and follow Mark Breland. And it's not just that he asked people to follow Mark Breland, the coach that was fired by Deontay Wilder. Some of the stuff I'm going to assume that you know the background on. So Floyd Mayweather took a shot at Deontay Wilder and basically said that, you know, support Mark Breland, and Mark Breland is a guy that is a highly qualified trainer, unlike a lot of other people who pretend they are, right? Which I think, and it is fair to think, is a pretty decent shot at Malik Scott, who was the trainer of Deontay Wilder. A lot of people did not like Deontay Wilder going into these fights with Tyson Fury. And I think several of these people are really, you know, kind of co-signing on a lot of negativity around Deontay Wilder. So Jermell Charlo retweets a response to somebody's observation of Floyd Mayweather's tweet, which was basically going in and saying how Mark Breland was done wrong, how Mark Breland saved his life, how, Deontay Wilder didn't fire JD's, but he kept Mark Breland, and what a terrible person Deontay Wilder is for not keeping Mark Breland. So, but for Jermell Charlo to retweet this is nothing but Jermell Charlo doubling down on a little mini war he's having with Deontay Wilder fans. And when I originally did the video talking about it, my stance on it when Jermell Charlo first originally dissed Deontay Wilder fans by calling them broke ass fans. I was like, look, man, these broke fans are the same people that supported you in your pay-per-view. So why are you dumping on Deontay Wilder fans, man? So this is just another incident of Jermell Charlo doubling down, being stubborn, disrespecting Deontay Wilder when there's absolutely no good reason to do it other than to try to stick a thumb in Deontay Wilder's eye while Deontay Wilder's down. It was very, very clear that Jermell Charlo, because what originally got Jermell Charlo in trouble with Deontay Wilder fans is that he was co-signing the idea that Deontay Wilder didn't have any skills and that Deontay Wilder's basically not a good fighter. And a lot of people took that, didn't like that because, number one, that's patently not true. Deontay Wilder is was a 5-year reigning WBC champion. He was Olympic bronze medalist. The guy had defended the title 10 times, right? Gave a bunch of people exciting fights, but he could never get over the hump in public perception, especially when Anthony Joshua started rising and Eddie Hearn started talking, and there was all this UK anti-American stuff thrown at Deontay Wilder. So to hear Jermell Charlo co-signing that, when they're saying the same thing about Jermell Charlo, like the same group of people that were so hard on Deontay Wilder, that people who were supportive of Deontay Wilder was defending Deontay Wilder against, are the same people who talk bad about Jermell Charlo, who say that Jermell Charlo shouldn't be in the pound for pound #1. They talk bad about Jermell Charlo, saying Jermell Charlo would get destroyed by Canelo Alvarez. The same people that do not want to give Jermell Charlo that career-defining fight with Canelo Alvarez is basically the same group of people, and the same group of people that won't put Jermell Charlo into a pound for pound list, even though I think that he deserves it, are the same people that Jermell Charlo is co-signing. So what I expect to happen out of this is more than likely, I'm telling you, when Jermell Charlo has his next fight, and I don't care what it is, it's going to be the Jermell, whether it's immediate Brian Castano rematch if they're able to pull that off, or if it's somebody else. I'm telling you, Jermell Charlo has pretty much just started a firestorm with a bunch of people that are not going to support him. It's the same way, where like if you had Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, and eventually, when Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. started beefing, based on some things that Terrence Crawford said about not wanting to fight Errol Spence Jr. and then the subsequent competition that he took, I'm telling you, Terrence Crawford's fan base took a significant hit. Now, I think his fan base is rebounding a little bit because of this Sean Porter fight. So maybe people are coming out of the Terrence Crawford fan closet a little bit, and I'm glad about that. But for a while there, man, he was pretty much, Terrence Crawford was just getting hit from every direction with all kind of stuff. So you can pretty much expect this out of Jermell Charlo, for the same thing for Jermell Charlo. And as far as like my opinion of Jermell Charlo, like I said, I like Jermell Charlo in a boxing ring. Like him a lot. Wish him the best. Derrick James is his trainer, the best trainer in boxing, one of the best trainers in boxing. And I definitely want him to beat Brian Castano, become an undisputed champion, get his credit. But I'm telling you, man, it's kind of like Terrence Crawford. Jermell Charlo makes it really, really hard to be a fan of his based on the way that he carries himself outside the ring, right? Like he's just seems to me to be a guy that, I mean, like he's always got a bad attitude. Always got a bad attitude. Always sparking something with somebody, man. It's like even in a press conference, you can't hardly say anything to him without him snapping off and flipping out on the other guy, man. Just really, really wired up, takes things personally. But at the same time, and this is what other people pointed out, when he was getting pushed up against some ropes against Brian Castano in the ring, he was a lot more reticent to fight and to really go all out against Brian Castano than he was to talk after the fight was over. So, all in all, man, like I said, I'm still a fan of Jermell Charlo. I am not a fan of anybody dumping on Deontay Wilder, man. First of all, Deontay Wilder's got the right to fire his trainer if that guy throws in that towel, okay? Deontay Wilder told the guy not to throw in the towel. I don't care under any circumstances. I don't care if I'm in trouble. You don't throw in the towel. And what happened? And if the fight had continued to go the way that it was going, eventually the referee would have stopped that fight. I don't believe that. I don't take the argument that he necessarily saved his life. Now, as a trainer, I could see why a trainer would throw in the towel. I could see why he would ignore the fighter in that particular instance if he really thought that this was a big danger to the man's life, right? But at the same time, if you do that, you got to live with the ramifications. And Deontay's ramification was, man, you got to get up out of here. As far as the water and all that, I think that's just, at this point, it's an unfortunate situation. But, I'm waiting for somebody else. For all these people that talk about, how highly qualified Mark Breland is, I'm waiting for one of these guys to actually put Mark Breland in their corner. Because nobody was saying that Mark Breland was this highly skilled trainer when they were dogging out Deontay Wilder for not having skills. Deontay Wilder was trained by Mark Breland for years, and nobody thought that highly of what Mark Breland was doing with Deontay Wilder. But after Deontay Wilder fires him, miraculously, all these guys think Mark Breland is like is a world-class trainer. And many people have said this about trainers and fighters. Just because you're a world-class trainer, a world-class fighter does not necessarily make you a world-class trainer. Let me make sure I said that right. Just because you're a world-class fighter doesn't mean that you're a world-class trainer. And that may well be the case with Mark Breland. Mark Breland and Deontay Wilder did not get along, right? Mark Breland and and Malik Scott do get along. And that was his decision to let him go. And I don't think anybody should really, harp on it too much unless, it is what it is, man. Anyway, that's my take on the situation. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuce.